Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have another quarterfinal matchup from our Rise of the Mortarchs finals on the past week. We have Crabling against Ronin for this matchup. We have Crabling leading the Empire and Ronin with Norska. So we'll go over Crabling's army first. We did see Crabling play Imperator in our first qualifier final way back, and he does have a lot of core units that are the same. He does have the Templehof Luminarch and Balthazar Gelt. He is going to bring Plague of Rust and Final Transmutation on him. And then we have a couple Outriders with grenade launchers in the forefront, and then some Knights of the Blazing Sun on the flanks. For the front line, we do have Spearmen with shields across the front line, with a couple more on the flanks protecting a trio of huntsmen, one of which being the White Wolves ROR unit. Now these spearmen with shields in the front line, they all have 8 chevrons, so they're really looking to hold that line and let these huntsmen do the work, while Knights of Blazing Sun, great against skin wolves and the like, and then Templehof, great at just sniping out to those large targets, and then Balthazar Gelt to really punish those blobbed up infantry fights, or I guess not necessarily infantry, but against Fimir, or with getting Wulfric and kind of those big units on top of that. Now for Norska, we'll see what Ronin has. A really spread out line. We have Marauders with great weapons mixed in with a couple Marauder units, 3 regular Marauders, and we have we have another Marauder with great weapons on the flank, so 2 of those, and then we have 2 more Marauder Berserkers on top of that. And then we have some heavy hitters in the forms of 2 Fimir warriors with great weapons. And then the skirmishing force going to be Marauder Horsemen, 3 of those. We have the Beast of Tashnar, and then for the leadership, we do have Wulfric the Wanderer with Seafang and Hunter of Champions with a Shaman Sorcerer of Death. And he is going to be bringing Spirit Leech and Aspect of the Dread Knight on top of that. So those are the armies. Some heavy hitters for Norska. We'll see how things are going to be handled by the Empire. Final Transmutation will do wonders against the Fimir Warriors if they are able to snag both of those. And that Templehof looks to be targeting either the Shaman Sorcerer or Wulfric. Looks like I think he's targeting the Shaman Sorcerer for the starters, as that shot does rain out and it does miss. Kind of a small target to be hitting, but otherwise the Empire, they're going to be looking to hold back and just let these huntsmen do the work. They'll do so much work against the Marauder Horsemen. We have the grenade launchers firing in. They'll do great work against really all of the infantry that Norska has brought, except for the Fimir Warriors, just the low armored, and Nice Blazing Sun getting a nice charge in. They seem to be having a very good initial engagements, as that shot does rain in, hits Wulfric, doing a little bit of damage, trying to dodge it. Could have been a lot worse in terms of damage output there. Fimir Warriors are getting on top of these Outriders now. They'll make quick work of them, but they should be able to pull out pretty easily. We do have the nice Plague of Rust going on the Fimir Warriors, overcasted, and allowing these huntsmen to just absolutely do a ton of damage, because that's minus 60% armor. They do have Scroll of Shielding popped on top of them, so that is a very nice cast by Ronin, able to counteract some of that incoming damage. And we do have a Seafang looking to just go right down the pipe here, doing a lot of damage to the Spearmen and clipping some of the Knights of Blazing Sun as well. So now Wulfric is coming into the engagement, really just running right through these Spearmen, but the Huntsmen are going to turn and start to fire on top of him, and that is really what they are going to be doing here. And a nice net going down, making sure he is not going anywhere. And now these shots are going to be raining in, and he is taking a ton of damage, and it looks like the Templehof is looking to be lining up a shot as well. Here it comes. And it does connect. So things not looking so hot for Norska. The battle tower is still fairly even. They are getting a bit into the back line with these Fimir Warriors. Front line looking to go fairly decently for Norska, though a few of their units are being routed off. Though with the loss of Wulfric the Wanderer, and they're just going to be chased off by these Outriders with grenade launchers at this point. These horsemen really need to come and try and get Wulfric back into the fight. And otherwise, it looks like it's just pretty much down to these Fimir Warriors with great weapons, kind of really holding that line. As this one, they are engaged with Balthazar, so Balthazar, it is a bit of a precarious situation, but as long as he's able to tank it for long enough, I mean, you have 3 huntsmen that are just firing point blank range, and they will be doing a ton of damage. Templehof getting a final shot in, connecting with Wulfric, and that will probably be the end of him. He does shatter, and that even though the balance power, though, is still fairly even as the ammo is being spent, and even the Templehof Luminarch has taken a decent amount of damage by itself, as well. This flank over here is kind of going a little decently for Norska, though they are getting rear charged by the Spearmen with shields now, and they are getting just absolutely destroyed by these grenade launchers. Though with the routing of their mobility, the balance of power starts to shift more and more into the favor of the Empire, as there's just nothing to really pressure these the Huntsmen anymore, as the grenade launcher is just acting as cleanup right now, as the Huntsmen now target really the last big target that Norska has, and that is these Fimir warriors with great weapons. Everything else really being pushed off. The Shaman Swords are trying to get some of these units to come back, but it looks like everything is going to be routing for Norska, and the Empire is looking fairly strong in this late game. Valkonos able to rout off these Fimir warriors, and he should just be able to chase them off as they do shatter, and it looks like that is army losses, and Crabling will take the first game of the series. So we will get right on into the second match here after we take a little quick look at the after battle report. So the Templehof Luminarch doing a lot of damage, but I think the core of this build that Crabling had brought is in the 3 Huntsmen, and then being able to net things down with the Luminarch is kind of just an added bonus with the damage output that it can do. So with that net that the Luminarch has, it allows the Nice Blazing Sun, the Huntsmen, and the Outriders with grenade launchers to really just isolate targets one at a time. For example, when they isolated out Wulfric there, they just had everything firing on him. The Templehof, all 3 Huntsmen, and just absolutely destroyed him. They didn't even need Plague of Rust for that particular engagement. And the Plague of Rust on that Balthasar does have was able to effectively deal with all of the Fimir warriors, and did very well. This is can be a very tough match for Norska, though they do have some good tools that can really get through things. I think he was maybe expecting a little bit more elite troops seeing these great weapons here. I mean, Fimir warriors do fairly well, especially against some of the cavalry that the Empire can bring, because the Skin Wolves are a bit of a risky pick in this particular engagement. Potentially, I don't know, the Marauder Horsemen, they just weren't able to do enough damage earlier on, and they didn't really have enough mobility. I think maybe another doggo unit here to get into those Huntsmen, because really not being able to shut down those Huntsmen was what really put the final nail in the coffin for Ronin. But that was a good first match, and we will get on into game 2. All right, for the second match of this quarterfinal, we have Crabling with the High Elves, and we have Ronin is going to be leading his Empire. So yeah, I think Ronin is pretty strong with his Empire faction, and we'll see what the High Elves have for us. First, though, we do have some Silverin Guard for the front line. We have 3 of those mixed in with a couple Spearmen to kind of shake things up. Good solid front line. Those Silverin will hold for quite some time if they don't have the proper counter to them. We do have a couple archers in the rear, provide some nice fire support against kind of the normally lightly armored Empire troops. Should do fairly well. And then we do have the mobility is a couple Dragon Princes, one of which being the Fireborn ROR. But up in the sky, we have Alariel, the Radiant. She is going to be bringing Phos Protection, Earthblood, Tempest, and of course the Star of Avalorn. And we do have a Moondragon as well. So this is a very good build here. I mean, the Alariel, Moondragon, and a couple Dragon Princes. Pretty much everything that Alariel needs to heal things up. That's good targets for the Star of Avalorn. Very solid build. Those Silverin will hold for quite some time. And now for the Empire, we have a front line of Spearmen with shields, 4 of those, and they are going to be backed up by triple great swords. Very good against the Silverin Guard, and a very nice pick by Ronin. We also have triple mortars in the back, which will do fantastic work against the archers and the densely packed formation of the High Elves. We do have Volkmar the Grim. We're going to be bringing pretty much his full kit here. Actually, does he even have Jade Griffin? I don't... Okay, so that is a Jade Griffin right there. For some reason, I thought he may have forgotten that, but yeah, it's pretty much just the full kit for Volkmar, Grand Soulfire, Grand Shield of Faith, Grand Hammer Sigmar, and his Bound Banishment. We also have a Grey Wizard bringing Pendulum and Enfeebling Foe, great against Silvern Guard as well, and really end the densely packed infantry of the High Elves. And then we are going to be supported by a couple of Demigryph Knights with Halberds to help counteract those Dragon Princes. So I do like both builds here. I think Ronin has all the tools he needs to really deal with what Crabling has brought. We'll see how well he's able to handle the rush. And the High Elves do need to advance because he does have triple mortars, and they will just wreck shop with those archers, and I'm sure he's going to be targeting them and maybe the spearmen as well, because these greatswords should be able to handle those Silvern Guard fairly well with their armor piercing values and high armor as well. But right now we have Alariel and the Moondragon. Now they are going to be able to just kind of fly overhead. I guess the only downside to Ronin's army is he doesn't really have anything that can shoot at the aerial targets, so it's just going to allow the Moondragon to pretty much fly right overhead of this Grey Wizard and get a nice breath attack. Dodges it kind of, but he takes a ton of damage on his Grey Wizard, who is now wavering, and he does not want to lose him very quickly. So yeah, that's probably the only real fault that Ronin does have. He does have his great swords though, going up against these Dragon Princes, and he does need the support of these Demigryph Knights. They do need to cycle around and protect these, because these great swords are needed for those Silvern Guard. And now the archers are getting in line to start firing in onto these mortars. One has been routed initially, but it is going to be coming back, and a nice hits onto those archers, doing a ton of damage. Demigryph Knights are able to kind of chase off these Dragon Princes, but these great swords did take quite a bit of damage in return. Now the other Fireborn is targeting that front line, whittling down those great swords. Good target priority by Crabling, getting rid of the counters to the Silvern Guard as quickly as he can, as the archers are doing good work against this one unit of mortars. A nice charge by the Dragon Princes, and just as they are getting countercharged by the Demigryph Knights, they do pull out straight through their Silvern Guard. Excellent work there, and the Demigryph Knights do pull back, but a nice pendulum arcing straight through this unit here of Silvern Guard, doing a ton of damage. But Volkmar is getting gooned out by Alariel and that Moondragon, taking quite a bit of damage. If he is able to survive, he'll be able to regen most of that damage back, because you have the great swords now cycling in, getting on top of the Silvern Guard, and exactly who they want to be targeting right there. Silvern Guard sticking close to these elite units as a nice Star of Avalorn goes off, healing up that Moondragon and these Dragon Princes, as the other Dragon Princes and Alariel also get on top. A nice charge by the Demigryph Knights coming in on top. This is where Volkmar should be kind of pulling back, allowing for his buffs to really keep his units in the fight, as these Demigryph Knights are starting to pull back though, and the balance of power is starting to go into the favor of the High Elves with their nice target priority so far, and getting rid of one of the Demigryph Knights, as both of their Dragon Princes are still pretty much at full health at the time being. The archers, though, have taken quite a bit of damage from the mortars, who are still firing freely. All three, well, actually, one of the units is coming back to their models. All these two other mortars are still at full health with all of their units. One of the Dragon Princes, though, is starting to waver right now under the attacks from these Demigryph Knights and these spears as well, though it does look like they are going to be stabilizing. A lot of infantry is still left for the Empire forces right now. We have great swords engaged with Silvern over here, as these Demigryph Knights are looking to try and break their backs a little bit, getting a nice charge in. They're going to want to pull back right away, though. They do not want to be stuck in that engagement for any longer than they have to. It is Silvern Guard after all, and a nice breath attack going down on top of these spearmen, getting a nice chunk of them off the map. Dragon Princes once again getting on top of some more great swords, doing a lot of good work there, trying to save their Silvern. But now the Moondragon and Alariel are trying to clean up shop with these Demigryph Knights. Volkmar has healed up quite a bit, and he does need to support this engagement. These Demigryph Knights are just too valuable to lose, as now the kind of the front line is starting to buckle a bit for the Empire, getting some holes in that front line, as the Dragon Princes are able to try and get through. Demigryph Knights doing a good job screening them out, getting into that engagement, as they did try and get on top of these mortars. But this area is starting to look pretty grim for the Empire, as we have some spearmen starting to get on top of these mortars. Mortars still have quite a bit of shots left, and it would be a shame to lose them at this point in the match. The Demigryph Knights, with the assistance of Volkmar, now doing some good work against this unit of Dragon Princes. Nice Soulfire going down, doing some good work on them. These Dragon Princes will probably start to waver pretty soon, but a nice counter charge by the Fireborn on top of the last unit of Demigryph Knights with the assistance of the Moondragon is probably going to spell the end for that unit. A nice banishment as well, clipping through some of the unit of Spearmen and pushing off the Sylvan Guard on top of that. But here is another Star of Averlorn looking to heal up these Fireborn, as both of the Moondragon and Alarielle are still at full health, but that'll get a nice bit of extra health going their way as these Demigryph Knights are on their final legs, as even these Dragon Princes are going to be returning. Spearmen continuing to chase off the crew of these mortars, and this other mortar is compromised as well, as some more of the Sylvan Guard have gotten on top of them. At this point, there isn't a whole lot left for the Empire that can effectively deal with a full health Moondragon and Alarielle. You do have Volkmar, but he's not going to be able to do that much work against the Moondragon, and the Demigryph Knights are wavering, and he does need to get protect them as much as he can, and also the Grey Wizard going as well. He does dodge that breath attack though from the Moondragon, so that is all 3 of the Moondragon's breath attacks for the battle. But yeah, I think just not looking good for the Empire, and I think this is going to be our match, as Crabling just has, just Alarielle of the Moondragon is a big threat, and we still have 26 units of Fireborn here, and plenty of healing left to go their way, while the Demigryph Knights are pretty much a non-factor at this point. So that balance power is pretty much all Volkmar at this point. I don't think there's a whole lot left for the Empire. His Wizard is gone, his Mortars are compromised, and yeah, even his Great Swords and Demigryph Knights are going to be off the match with that charge from the Fireborn. And Alarielle and the Moondragon looking to finish things up with Volkmar as they do chase him down. And yep, I think that will be our final match. And yeah, I think the Empire really just needed something in the form of anti-air. Like a handgunner unit or 2, I think would have been very, very helpful here to kind of make sure that the Alarielle and Moondragon were just pretty much keep them honest, make sure that they couldn't just fly right overhead of their units and just get breath attacks, charge wherever they wanted to, provide a little bit of support. So maybe drop 1 unit of mortars or maybe 1 of the Great Swords to do that. I do like the mortars though, because they do very well against like archers, regular spearmen, not so much Sylvan, but regular spearmen and archers, they do a lot of good work on them, and they were able to shut them down fairly well. Didn't allow them to get a whole lot of shots on target. But also I think he was using the Great Swords to protect his flanks, when that should have been the Spearman's job. Those Great Swords needed to be used for the Sylvan Guard and the Sylvan Guard alone, and to maybe assist with cav engagements. They should not have been taking those charges, and those Demigryph Knights needed to pretty much be shadowing those Dragon Princes the entire game, making sure that his front line was able to stay pretty much protected and counter those charges with his demis. But it was a good match, good series by Ronin, and Crabling did advance into the semifinals, and you can see the rest of those battles from the stream the other week. We do have 1 more quarterfinal match to cover. That will be Shetland Apache and Evan Star. That should be in the next day or so. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you all enjoyed this series. And as always, have a good one.